Welcome everybody to Chancellors and the first of two question time events. In a moment I shall be bringing on the candidates for VP minibuses, and they're going to be telling you why you should be voting for them. You will have an opportunity to ask some questions. If you have not done this before, just to remind you that you must be a student to ask a question. If you don't feel that you want to ask a question to the audience, there's a radio mic in the corner. You must speak into the microphone. Then Jamie, Alex and Ben are in the corner. You can give your question to them and they will send it up here on stage. We're live on the internet tonight, so please do not swear. We'll be asking some questions. You can challenge the answers. You can have a bit of debate, have a bit of a laugh, try and keep it civilized. We're going to be taking tweets, Facebook comments and everything. But right now, please welcome our three candidates for VP Sports and Recreation, Trung, Paris and Adam. Okay, what's going to happen is it's NUS rules this evening. Each candidate is going to have 90 seconds in order to make their opening speech. I have my stopwatch here, and then we shall move on to the questions. So, first to give us their point of view will be Paris. Just sit down.
Hi everyone. Hi, my name is Paris. I'm a second year music student here at Surrey, and I obviously am running for VP Sport. I'm a member of the women's rugby team and I'm a member of the Surrey Angels cheerleading squad as well. The main issues that I would like to address if I'm elected, the first one is the issue of membership. I feel a lot of the Surrey Sports Park, I feel a lot of students have felt quite dissatisfied with what has actually happened with the sports park this year. And one of the main questions needs to be, what are the students actually paying for? And on Wednesday I'll be having a meeting with the CEO of the sports park, and I'm going to bring up all the issues that have actually arisen from talking to students, and I will try and rectify these with him. The next one is with training and equipment. I feel a lot of sports teams are quite dissatisfied with their training conditions. I know a lot of teams have been training in the dark, and a lot of teams are actually under-equipped, so that's another issue I'd like to address. And the union won't necessarily have the funds to provide all the equipment, but obviously I'd like to encourage teams to raise their own funds for these. One of my main manifesto points is to create an initiative to help players that actually get injured playing for the university. You know, they're giving their health and they're affecting their studies to help the university, and I feel that it's the least we owe them to sort of help them out. And the last one is the issue of kit. The teams that are in white kit playing in the mud, they shouldn't be in white kit. And one of my main things is, as part of sports club membership, I'd like every member of a sports team to have a pair of blue and yellow Surrey socks to give everyone that sense
Paris,
of identity.
thank you very much. Paris there. And next up will be Trung. Okay.
Hey everyone, I'm Trung and I'm looking for your vote for VP Sports. And this all began in 2008 when I started up the cycling club. I didn't stop there. I went on to start up the volleyball club and later was elected sports executive chair. Having worked with the university and sort of with the University of Surrey sports strategy this year, I understand what it's all about and I know how to push it forward for the benefit of you. The strategy includes development plans, better coaching, easier membership payments, better training time, sporting qualification, and much more. And actually, throughout this year, I have been working on kit, and it's going to be resolved for next year. Sport should be for everyone. I am looking into how sport can be delivered to various diverse student bodies, such as health and social care, GSA, Erasmus students, and others. I want to establish joint communication between the sports park, uni and the union, so that we can reach out to more students, increasing awareness of opportunities. Essentially, I want to involve more of you into the process, so that you have your say with the direction of sport. A vote for me is a vote for someone with extensive knowledge of how clubs work, the sports park, and the union operate, so I can get stuck in straight away. Faster delivery of actions. I have 7 months to implement my aims, resolve your concerns, and see through all my projects that I've started this year before the start of the next academic year. This year we have evolved. Next year is the time for development. There are 16,000 students at Surrey and 38 clubs. I want to see all clubs expand, develop and bring more of you into student sport.
Thank you very much. And finally, to make his pitch is Adam.
During my 3 years at university, from varsity to the exciting opportunities of the sports park, we have this brand new, this new sport park is not being made much advantage, and I think there's much work yet to be done. I am Adam Lancaster, and I will ensure positive progress is made through a commitment to professionalism and making sport available for all. My first improvement would be the effective organisation of club equipment and training times. I will make sure that club kits are ready and available for the very start of the season. My second aim is to seek professional input for sports clubs at Surrey. This means drafting in professionals to inspire our sports clubs. And finally, sports for all. Rather than recruitment opportunities only happening at Freshers' Fair and Refreshers' Fair, I will encourage club open days to happen regularly. I want students not only playing sport, but also involved in other ways, such as organising social sport events, better advertisement of our team matches, and planned trips to see professional sport. Thank you for listening to me tonight. I want you to vote Adam Lancaster #1 for VP Sports and Recreation, because I believe I am the person to take sport at Surrey even further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, there are the opening pitches. We're going to move on to some questions now. Remember, if you are tweeting, if you're watching us online, use the hashtag elect11. We'll be looking to see what you say. Apparently, Trung is a little bit quiet. I don't know if you can do something about that. Right, to the first question. The position is VP Sports and Recreation. We've heard an awful lot about sports, nothing about recreation so far. So please tell us what recreation means to you and what you will do for recreation at the University of Surrey. First to answer that will be Adam.
Well, to me, recreation is getting other people who don't usually play sport or are not part of any sports club more involved. For example, as I said earlier, I know a lot of people who enjoy watching rugby but don't want to be part of the union club or any kind of club involved with the university. And holding planned trips to go and see professional sports will encourage and inspire other students to get involved. And that's what the recreation side is. It's getting people not just playing sport, but watching it as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trung?
All right. This year, what I've realised is that clubs are in the past they were treated the same, and we do have clubs with recreational aspects. We have clubs with performance aspects, along with sort of social and personal development aspects. What does recreational mean to me? It's the participation, bringing everyone into sport. What I'd like to do for sports clubs is encourage them to sort of hold their own sort of tournaments. And this year we've done that so far with a few clubs, and what I want to do is increase that so that every student has the opportunity to participate in their sport. Also, a big thing for recreation is what I did this year was start up the Active Freshers Fair, which is trying multiple sports in one day, and that's a lot of recreation there.
Thank you very much. Paris?
Well, to me, recreation is something that you would do for fun. You do it in your spare time, and recreational things are something that you can do to make new friends. It's a social thing as well, and I would encourage more social activities, more socials between sports, things like that.
Great, thank you very much. You talk an awful lot about Surrey Sports Park and the sports teams. However, the sports park is only part of the jigsaw. The Students' Union has a big obligation for sports teams. The Students' Union looks after sports administration, looks after minibuses, looks after the Bucks fixtures. So where do you think the Students' Union can improve in its service to sports clubs. Tron.
Right. The biggest key thing is communication, and that's one of the things I've started tapping into this year. With the new Skynet project, which is basically the new Students' Union website, it's basically going to revolutionise communication on campus. And I've been working on that this year and know sort of how we can use it, utilise it for the benefit of everyone. How can the union push forward? Well, as I was speaking before, we have the University of Surrey sports strategy, which combines the union with the sports park in a joint relationship. At the time being, the sports park is like that, the students' union is like that, and we're just rubbing against each other. The plan for the future is that we work together like that. So that's how we're going to improve sport.
Paris.
Well, for me, I think the union, a lot of committees are under a lot of pressure with administrative things. And I think the union can help with the paperwork, go through things like that. That's what I've got to say. Oh, the union can provide support with things like fundraising. I know that we have a big volunteering base, and obviously I made the point that teams that need more equipment, the union can't necessarily provide that funding, but if we encourage and help the clubs to have their own fundraising events to be able to provide themselves with their better equipment. And also another one, which is one of my main manifesto points, is the union with the VP welfare. We can set up an initiative. People that play sport can get seriously injured, and it can really, really affect your studies. So with the VP welfare, we could set up an initiative to build a database of all the local services, the sports therapists, masseuses, chiropractors, just to give people that information so they can recover in the best way possible.
Thank you. Adam.
I'd like to answer this question with an example. At the park, when I had rugby training on a Sunday night, Sunday afternoon, we turned up and we were told to go away because the England women's rugby team are training there. Now, we weren't told at any point beforehand that they were planning on to do that. There was no communication whatsoever between the Surrey Sports Park and the union, and it's that communication that needs to be brought forward and dealt with significantly.
Thank you very much. And, oh, sorry, Tron.
Can I respond to that? I totally agree with you, Adam, and that's why within the University of sports strategy, I've implemented the things to protect all of those.
Well, I think it should have been done at the start of the season instead of at the end when all the matches have been finished and there's no more training to do. It should be something that should be looked at the second the Surrey Sports Park would have been open, and then we can get straight, people can have professional equipment, training times can be fixed, and there are no problems with clashing of any international clubs coming over.
Adam, these times were set ages ago. How can they be shifted? This is why I've planned for the future.
Sorry, these times were set ages ago?
Sorry, would you clarify that?
Like Women's Rugby World Cup and all these timetabling issues.
Yeah, it's not the fact that they were planned and timed ages ago. It's the fact that the teams weren't informed at any point that their pitches would be cancelled, and there was no point for them to turn up to training. That communication is what was lost.
Okay, let's widen this out a little bit. We know that the sports park requires commercial activity to secure its funding, and we know that some external sports clubs want to use the facilities. So what do the candidates believe is an acceptable time frame in order to move sports clubs' bookings? If you accept that sports clubs' bookings are going to have to be moved to make way for commercial users, what do you think the notice period should be? 24 hours, 48 hours, a week, a month? What is reasonable? Anybody?
Well, I personally believe a month in advance is the ideal situation.
And you don't think that would constrain the sports park and affect their commercial income?
I think it gives more people, it gives the students and all the clubs to plan more in advance of what training times and what alternatives they can use. And it gives the sports park the opportunity to deal with the international clubs coming over, or the Harlequins, and using the pitches provided. That a month is, I think, ideal amount of time to inform student clubs whether they can train or not?
Any advance in a month?
I would say as soon as the external club has made the request to book it, then the student club should be notified, and maybe the sports park should offer an alternative time, and if not, offer maybe an extra free slot if there is one.
So if the external booking came in the day before and they contacted the sports club, you would think that was okay?
No, but if it's, I would say a month is an acceptable time frame.
Earlier today I spoke with the CEO and we brushed on about this, and equally a month is good, or even more. At the moment we're planning for next year, timetabling, so hopefully these issues won't be happening. Yes, a month is suitable, but what I'm looking to do is get like a cap of how many times students can be moved, and on top of that, basically, this communication is one thing. Then we need to find an alternative, be that an alternative facility or an alternative training time. And that's one of the key things. I think that clubs, well, we should kind of understand that the sports park overall, about 2/3 of the money that they make comes from these sort of big sports clubs. And without them, they wouldn't be able to subsidise our students' sport.
Well, the other alternative is, would you happy to see a hike in the student fee and no commercial activity at the sports park?
No.
No, I think the commercial activity.
No, I think it's important to keep the commercial activity.
Okay. Finally, from me, following on from the demonstrations in London and from the activities of Carnage, one of the areas that the national press are very keen to look at is initiation ceremonies. What is your opinion of initiation ceremonies, and what would you do about them if you were elected? And first to answer that will be Paris.
Well, I'm going to use a personal example. From the age of 11, I went to boarding school, and from a very young age, I was subject to initiation ceremonies, really quite bad hazing, and although some people think it's harmless, I think in a way it does affect you as a person. So I think we'd have to, within reason, not supervise, but I think a club would have to tell the union what they intend to do, and the union would have to go over that and see if it's an acceptable thing to do, because these initiation ceremonies can be quite harsh, and I honestly, some of the things that I've heard going on, I don't think is acceptable.
Adam.
I completely agree with Paris, actually. I think we have to find the fine line between what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable in an initiation ceremony. And I think the best way to do that would be to inform the union, or to have union representatives there to tell them on the spot whether that's acceptable or not.
Well, let me tell you, some unions have a line that says there is no initiation ceremonies at all.
I think that's perfectly acceptable. I don't think this initiation ceremonies are sort of, it's there for a bit of fun. It's not, it's not illegal to have an initiation ceremony. I think it's a good tradition to have, and it should be kept up at this university. But I don't think it should be. I think we should find the line between what is acceptable and what isn't, and use some kind of supervision, or have somebody look over what is being done in an initiation ceremony, and then everybody's happy then.
Tron?
I don't particularly agree with initiation ceremonies, but I do agree that in some instances they do build relationships between the teams. But of course we don't want it to go too far. Why should we even call them, have initiation ceremonies in the first place? We should have some sort of other unions have welcome parties, which is a more friendlier way of introducing students into their club.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to take some questions from online now that I've been sent in here. Now, we all know that Surrey is going to be going to 9,000 fees. Hooray. That means a lot of students are going to be spending a lot of money. International students will be spending that for a long time on studying. That's going to put greater pressure on the university to deliver. They're going to want more quality contact time. So, of course, what will come under threat? Wednesday afternoons. What do you feel that you can do to protect? In fact, do you believe that Wednesday afternoons should be protected? First to answer that shall be Trump.
I definitely agree that Wednesday afternoon should be protected. It's pretty much there across the nation for sport. One thing that I kind of feel is that sport at the moment on Wednesday afternoons is sport for teams. I want to broaden that to sports for everyone. Having spoken to the new CEO, I said to him, you know, what I'd like to do is have more intramural leagues, have more social leagues, so that everyone can participate in sport on the Wednesday afternoons. So it's pretty vital that we do keep Wednesday afternoons.
Adam.
I agree, Wednesday afternoons should be protected. However, we should look into ways of making the sports park more an easier way for students to pay membership of the sports park, because if, you know, fees are rising, no student really wants to pay £195 for a year straight away. So what I look to hopefully do is to introduce a direct debit scheme over the course of a year or 6 months, and maybe pay that quarterly or yearly. Have a set date for, give students a good 3 months in advance, 4 months in advance, set date of when the direct debit will come out and start, let's say for example, out the 1st of January, and give a set date for when it will end and which date it will come out every year.
If you think the fee is too high, what do you think is an acceptable fee?
I don't think the fee is too high for the Surrey Sports Park at all. I think this £19.50 a month is absolutely fine. I think the way I've spoken to a few students, and the problem is having to pay the whole thing in one go.
Think it's the payment scheme?
It's the payment scheme of having to pay £195 in one go and not paying it over a set of different payments.
Okay. Trump.
Can I reply to that? This is something I've tried to push throughout the year, and basically the problem here is that the sports park don't want it to go into that financial risk as the accommodation services do. We looked into it, but you know, we get our loan at the start of the year. To do instalments, for example, people who live on campus, they might go into financial difficulties, and then when the direct debit, when they're in overdraft and it bounces back, they can't pay it. The thing is, with accommodation, they're safe because the university can say, well, if you're not going to pay for it, then we're not going to give you the degree. It doesn't quite apply with the sports park, so it's very hard to do it. What I'm looking to do is find other ways of how we can manage that.
You going to sports standing, Adam?
I should be.
Do you go?
I haven't been there yet.
You haven't been. So was this announced at sports standing, your negotiations on direct debits? Why does Adam not know about your discussions on direct debits? Why is he asking for direct debits and you're saying it's not possible?
It was asked at the Q&A, the sports park Q&A, in November.
I think not enough has been. I think we're sort of just letting the sports park walk over us, and not enough has been done to push and try and get what the students want. After all, it was built for the students, so we should be able to pay it the way we prefer.
Well, Trong has just said there was a Q&A session set up with the sports park, and the video of that has been online, the minutes have been available. Didn't you look at that?
I didn't get a chance to look at that, no. But
it was in November, Adam.
It may be in November, but I didn't get a chance to look at it, I'm afraid.
Paris.
Yes,
You've yet to answer.
I am. Going back to the Wednesday afternoons, yes, I do think they're being protected, but at the moment, I don't feel they're being protected enough. The amount of Wednesday lectures, I have lectures from 11:30 till 1 on a Wednesday, and the amount of lectures I've had to miss for away games, it's just not really, I don't think it's acceptable. And, you know, it was announced that Wednesday afternoons would be protected, but I don't think they've been protected enough. On the issue of the membership, I don't really agree with the fact that we have to pay £200 in one go. That was the first thing I spent my loan on, didn't spend it on anything else, and then I didn't have enough to pay my rent. So it's, you know, and I know it's quite a common problem with a lot of students, and even with the case of the £195 membership, I don't think there is a cheaper membership, which, even though it is advertised, I don't think it's advertised enough. A lot of students aren't aware that there is a cheaper membership. So I think that needs to be pushed a lot more, because obviously the sports park would prefer to have the more expensive membership because they are making more money from it. But I think that a lot of people would benefit more from the cheaper membership, and then maybe when they can afford it, to upgrade it.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Adam?
Sorry, I was just going to say, the nurses and the Erasmus students have 3-month memberships.
Yeah.
I don't see why we've not, if they are allowed to have that, I don't see why there's no reason for other students to have that as well. I don't think that's been pushed at all, because the public, most of them are paying the full £195 for the year. I don't see any reason at all why no questions have been asked for students to have the 3-month membership since the start of the year, or since it was introduced.
There are many other gyms in the Guildford area, and of course it's a free market we live in today, so why do you think students would use the SSP? I mean, student membership has gone through the roof, they've met their targets, so if it was too expensive, it was too difficult, the argument may be that actually if it was a problem, that everybody would be joining, you know, the one down by Lady Bean, things like that. So why are people going to the sports park? Where is this problem that you say that exists?
I think it's a matter of convenience. A lot of the students, when you're a fresher, if you don't necessarily know Guildford, the first thing you see when you walk into the Freshers' Fair is the massive stand, join the Surrey Sports Park. And of course, you're told if you want to be a member of a sports club, you have to be a member of the Surrey Sports Park. Whether it's the more expensive membership or not, you have to be a member to play for your university. So I think it's a matter of convenience, and it's a matter of the fact that you have to be a member to play.
Adam?
Well, I think being a member of the Surrey Sports Park and comparing that to other gyms, the other gyms may be more financially better. However, I don't think it's realised how many resources you have at the sports park with the Olympics coming and training there. I don't think enough students know about how. I think we should make the most of that. Not enough has been done to take advantage of the Olympics coming, making use of the Olympic-sized pool. All this equipment and stuff it's just being left aside because students are going to the gym in town, and I don't think enough is done to make them aware of how cheap £19.50 a month is compared to how much you get from the Surrey Sports Park.
Tron?
Can you repeat the question?
The question is that if there is a great problem with students paying up front, why are students not using local gyms which are a lot cheaper, where you can have flexible price bands like the gym down opposite PC World?
I think ultimately because it's supposed to be our gym. It's been branded University of Surrey, and it was built by the University of Surrey. There are many other options in sort of pay and play. So you don't have to be a member of the sports park. You can just go along, pay, and then you have your session. And that's something I'm looking to increase, sort of having session fees for particular clubs, so that you can come along, join the club. You don't need that membership.
Can I just say, this is something I said in my manifesto, is to introduce club open days, because at the moment you can only join a club really at Freshers' Fair and Refreshers' Fair, so at the start of the year and in January, and not a lot of students will go to join clubs mid-season because it's quite awkward, because they all know each other and you wouldn't go on your own. So holding things like club open days where you don't have to pay any kind of membership, and it's a training session designed specifically for introducing new members, is what I think will help in that situation.
Great. Briefly, Tron?
Have you spoken to the clubs about this, because that jeopardises their training time?
It won't come out of their training times. I haven't spoken to any clubs in specific, but it will be a day not taken out of their training times. It'll be maybe one session every 2.5, 3 months, which I don't think any clubs will. More clubs will want to have members anyway. There's no club wants to have fewer members. There's no reason why they wouldn't want to hold that.
But what would you do for example, the cheerleading squad? Once they have their team, they have reserves, it's very, very hard for them to recruit new members, because obviously everyone is trained to a certain standard, and for someone new to come in sort of 3-4 months after we've started training, that would jeopardise and slow down the rest of the squad. So what would you do for team sports such as that?
Well, do cheerleading have a stall at Refreshers' Fair?
No, they didn't.
They didn't. Well, then that's obviously one of the clubs that won't be able to do that then. But clubs like rugby and football and hockey, where people can go and learn the sports and pick it up, within a matter of a few months, they'll be able to do that and get involved, and therefore more money will go into the club if they decide to become a member.
Okay.
Right, thank you very much. We've talked an awful lot up here. I can't actually see very well because I've got floodlights in my eyes. Any questions from the audience? If you'd like to make your way to where Jamie is, if you could speak clearly into the mic.
Hello? Yep. Okay.
Hello.
So, what can you do for those people who want to join? The social side seems to be heavily revolved around getting drunk a lot, and a lot of people, social events anyway. What can you do for those who can't drink for who can't drink for religious reasons or even health reasons, to feel more involved in the club, even though most of the social events are such things as pub crawls, etc.?
So, how can you get involved in ski and snowboard if you are a teetotaler, I suppose? First to answer that would be Paris.
Well, obviously not all socials have to be revolved entirely around drinking. There are a lot of clubs that do non-drinking socials. You can go out and watch games where I know, especially the rugby club, they go to games, they get drunk, but not every club has to do that. You can do other activities that don't involve drinking. And were you on a pub crawl, for example, I was out on a social, I couldn't drink because I just had surgery, so the rugby girls basically got me to drink so much Coke that I went really hyper. But I know it's a kind of silly idea, but there are other things you can do to, obviously you don't have to do everything in excess, but there's other things you can do to make people be involved. You don't have to make it all about drinking.
Adam?
In my opening 90-second speech, I mentioned the word sports for all. That's my slogan, and that's what I'm wanting people to actually listen and think about, because social sports events for people who don't drink and for religious reasons or health reasons, there's no reason why we can't have a social sport day event maybe 3 weeks or so, maybe every month. That'll be an event entirely dedicated to going, having a good time, learning, meeting people in the sports clubs without having to drink beer, maybe just playing a bit of the sport. It'll be a social activity where everyone can get involved.
Tron?
There's a difference between a social night out and social activities. I agree with Paris there. Not all socials have to be about drinking. And on top of that, the union does have a drinking policy where it states that on socials there has to be a non-alcoholic alternative. So the provision is there. Whether or not clubs stick to that, that's another issue.
I had a rather helpful suggestion from Twitter there. Maybe you could offer drugs instead of alcohol. So take that up. Another question from the floor, preferably not from another candidate. We like some ordinary students, please. I can't see. You could have a forest of hands there. I would be none the wiser.
Adam said about effective training times, but this season, we haven't had anywhere, as a rugby girl, we haven't had anywhere to train, no floodlights, nothing, for the past whole season. So I just wanted to know what you, if you get in again,
we can't hear you very well up here. You need to
about effective training times, which Adam said. I wanted to know what Trung would do about this new season. Because as a rugby girl, we didn't get anywhere to train for the whole season and no floodlights. So I just wondered what he would do if he got voted in again.
Okay, Adam.
I understand your problem, because being a rugby boy myself, we've been playing in the dark for once a week and on a sand-based Astro pitch, which, if any of you play rugby, is impossible to train rugby on, because you just cut your legs to shreds. So one of the first things I'll do, as I said, will be introduce a timetable which is ideal for every single club. So it's not like netball have to play at 7 in the morning or some ridiculous hour like that. Or I was speaking to someone from hockey and they have a random training time every week. And I think that's just ridiculous. We need to have a set fixed time which is ideal for every single club, which is made at the start of the year, which every club is satisfied with.
Trung.
to answer your question, I've already started on that process. At the moment, I'm working on student timetabling as well. So that's that. There's something I really want to say, but it's not open to the public, so...
Well then, keep stum, Tron.
There is something good that's going to be in place.
If you haven't shared it with Sports Exec, if it's not minuted, then best keep it to yourself.
Okay, there is something in place for that.
We have to take his word on that. Paris.
And just to add to that, yes, we have been training in the dark most of the year, but like Tron said, he has already started, and we do now have floodlights, but our committee had to sort that out themselves. But I think what the best option would to find out from the sports park all available training times for all the areas, and then divide up which clubs need which areas, and then give the clubs, say there's this time, and let people put down their preferences, and then you'd have to work out, correlate exactly, and get everyone the training time that would be most appropriate for them.
I'm sorry, but things like training times we're now in March, and rugby clubs shouldn't be training in the dark, and we've had all year so far, and things like this should have been sorted out at the start of the year, and it wasn't. So this is one of the first things that should have been sorted out, which wasn't sorted out last year, and which is something that I will sort out if I get elected. That's one of my first things.
Right, do we see anybody else in the audience? 'Cause I think I saw a whiff of a hand fly up over there.
Hello, 1, 2.
Roger Bravo, Roger Victor.
I think everybody at Surrey who's involved in sport will appreciate how important the relationship with Surrey Sports Park is in terms of training times, which have been discussed. I'm just interested to hear from the candidates how they plan on leveraging that relationship in order to increase performance and participation.
You all got that?
Yeah.
Okay. Tron.
The sports park relationship is very important, and that's one I've been building up this year. I keep banging on about it, but it's literally the Don, and this is something I'm really going to push for next year, and it is that sports strategy. What I've been doing is working with the sports park, with the student union, and with clubs to sort of develop that relationship. We have set things in place. There's better communication, and as I said on my manifesto, it does include club development plans, better coaching, easier membership payments, club consultation with training times. It's all there, and that's what I've been building up, and I know everything. I've been through the process, and I can really push that for next year.
Paris.
Yeah, again, the relationship with the sports park is so important, and I think it has suffered a bit this year because I know, especially with the clubs I'm in, there's been quite a few disagreements between the staff and the students with equipment and everything, and I think it's just a case of better communication, and we really have to cash in on the fact that the facilities we have are absolutely world class, and we really need to advertise that fact. We've got an almost Olympic-sized swimming pool, we've got amazing squash courts, there's so much there for us to use, and for new freshers, it's look what we've got, you have to come and use it, because I don't think we really bank on that enough.
Thank you. Adam.
I think one of the best ways to improve communication between the union and the Surrey Sports Park is to hold a meeting every 2 weeks, as often as that, to discuss how things are going on. Gradual learning of what's new, what's happening, and things like that. Because at the moment, I don't think there's not enough meetings at the moment going on between the union and the Surrey Sports Park. Because if there were, there'd be definite signs of it, and there were no improvements at all. Which relates back to training in the dark and training on sand-based astro pitches and things like that. Because there's another issue, I've come across another issue with bookings, because when teams book pitches and they get turned away, this is another point of communication where there's not enough being done between international clubs coming over, taking the pitches, and then not informing the clubs which intend to use them for their own training purposes.
Thank you. Okay, we've heard an awful lot about sports, funnily enough. Don't forget, when you're a VP, you are also one of the sabbatical team. You're a trustee of the union. You're a company director, so you're responsible for the overall direction of the union. So if anybody's got any general union questions or representative questions, you can think of them now. But do I see any more on the floor? We've got a few over here. Mr. Jamie is around with a mic somewhere. I can't see. Also, to be slightly anal for a moment, it's not Olympic-sized, it's Olympic standard.
It's nearly Olympic size.
It's not the size, it's the
few inches short.
standard.
It's a few inches short.
Well, then it's not Olympic standard.
Okay, it's been briefly mentioned already tonight, but I'd like to go a bit more in depth on it. The Students' Union has spent a hefty amount of money on Project Skynet. I would like to know, what is Project Skynet and how will you use it next year?
Right, what is Skynet and how are you going to use it next year? Adam?
I spoke to Guy the other day at the presentation evening about what Skynet is, and he informed me that it was a way of better communication, of running the websites that of the union and the emails and things like that, because it's, I think he informed me that there's ways of keeping better track of different events and what's going on in the union, and it's much more reliable than what we have currently.
Yeah. Paris? I realise this is slightly different for Paris and Adam because they've not been so heavily involved in it as Trung has, but give it your best, Paris.
Well, as far as I understand, obviously the union website was shut down and refurbished to give way to this new system. And as far as I know, it's an all-encompassing communication system within the union, for the union to communicate with students about everything that's going on within the union. But I'm not terribly knowledgeable about it, I'm afraid. I'm going to be honest.
Trung, give us the gospel according to Skynet.
Basically, you know what our union website looked like. It improved ever so slightly within the past 5 years, but ultimately the service provider was BAM, and they were, can I swear? No. And they were...
You are live on Channel 4, please do not swear.
So what the union has been starting to do, and this was a good few years back, and it's only now we're starting to push it even further, is the Skynet project. What it is it's basically a user-friendly interface, a website, which basically it personalizes your login to what your needs are, and this is very useful for clubs. So for example, you don't have to register to the website because you just use your university details. So if it was just like TS00018, to put that in, put your password in, and you put all your preferences in. And if your preference is sport, you go in and you go, my preference is not only sport, it's rugby. And then you get the news feeds, your page dynamically changes, it gets your news feed for what's going on with rugby. So what do I want to do with it? I want to encourage clubs to really put all their information on, because it's going to be really easy to use and really useful, and this will improve communication channels. Membership.
Yep.
What we're looking to do is...
Briefly.
What we're looking to do is link sports park membership into the system so that team selection is easier. All you have to do is, you know who's part of your club, because the system talks with the sports park. You go, I'll click Bob, I'll click blah, blah, blah. So you have your first 11 for, say, football. It's really useful for minibus bookings. It just makes things easier.
Well, we hope, anyway. Okay, I'm going to take another question from the internet now. And this is about funding again. With the union having to be more careful with sport and society funding, bearing in mind that sports are more heavily funded than societies, what is the priority and what needs to be preserved? So, Trung.
Okay.
You like to splash the cash? What needs to be preserved?
Number one thing that needs to be preserved is student training times, but then there's a cost to it, but not really. In terms of cost, it really is coaching and equipment. Without coaching, our clubs won't develop. I know that some clubs don't even have coaches, and that's what I'm looking to do, is get more coaching for them next year. That would be the priority, really.
Adam?
I think my priority would lie in sorting out the training times and the kits. Having a decent kit is what brings the team together, in my opinion. Having the facility and the training times is what you need, and you can bring in coaches every so often to give you that extra boost. As I said earlier, bringing in professionals occasionally, just occasionally, gives that inspiration for a team to come together and want to train better and train harder. But kits and training times is essential for what the funding has to go towards.
Paris?
These guys have pretty much said it all. The most important, well, in the end, most important thing for a successful team is pride for the team they're playing in, and that you have good morale. And the things you need to achieve that, you need the proper training time so your team's not being messed around. They need to look smart, they need to feel good, they need to feel like a team, and they need to be well equipped, because if a team's not well equipped, they can't train efficiently, they won't be successful, and in the end, that's how you lose morale and pride for the team.
Thank you very much. Well, I was going to carry on for an hour. Oh, sorry, Trung, you're going to say something. Okay.
Sorry, Adam. I just want to clarify, I just want to make this clear that you don't need to worry about kit because it's being sorted.
It should have been sorted at the start of the year, Tron. It should have been sorted the second you started work.
No,
that's the most priority thing you could have done.
Do you know why the problem occurred?
I think whatever it is, there's no reason for it not to be, because other unis have it, and there's no reason why we can't.
To be fair, Trung, if you knew what the problem was, you would have said, so maybe you want to explain what the problem was.
Basically, what I'm looking to do is have a more sustainable kit system. The trouble every VP sport gets every year is that kit gets paid for and then gets lost at the end of the year. So the problem with, especially, I think you're talking from experience from the rugby club, look at the team picture last year and look how many kits were available. Then look how many kits you have now. There was enough for this year.
But I don't understand. If this is what you think the problem is, why was it not done at the start of the year, and now you're doing it now?
Because this started before the start of my term.
Surely when you first got in, when you started your term, your first thing, for me, as someone who's passionate about sport, I would love to see university sport teams in professional-looking kits, yeah. which didn't happen because rugby played with just kit from 2 years ago or something like that, and we weren't given proper kit. Yep. That's just from a rugby point of view. I know that some of the ladies' hockey players haven't had proper kit either, yep. since the start of the season.
Yeah. Equally, we didn't have enough to fund everyone. On top of that, there's going to be a massive overhaul of kit next year anyway. If you read my sort of summary and if you read all the emails, kit's on its way.
So back to Adam's point. Why next year? Why not this year?
There was no system in place, and there was...
That it should have been put in. That's the first thing. As someone who's passionate about sport, looking at teams with professional kits on, I don't want to turn up and watch a hockey game or a rugby game where people's wearing odd socks and different shorts. It looks rubbish, and it looks like we just don't want to be there. We don't want to be part of it. That's why one of my first points is training times and kits. That's what has to be sorted out. Regardless of whether it's already been sorted out or not, it's the better organisation which needs to be done in order to sort that out.
Paris, any further comments to make?
I think everything's been said. Obviously, again, I'm in a sports team that from the beginning of the year was playing in a white kit. We play in the mud, and in the end, rolling around in the mud in white kit means that it gets muddy, it looks shabby, and we're essentially playing in brown kit. And also, another thing with the cheerleading squad, we ordered our kit, it arrived and it got lost from the union. We had to do our first competition with no kit, and it looked terrible. And, it's things like that I think the union should have. I think, in the end, something as important as that shouldn't have been lost.
Right, thank you very much. We've been at this for an hour now, unless anyone's got any pressing points they want to make. Oh, we've got a one over there. Claire?
Hello. I would like to know how you, as kind of head of sports, will use your student media outlets on campus that are growing in a massive capacity, especially MADTV, which is one of the most visual medias on campus. How are you going to use them to your advantage to encourage people who wouldn't necessarily go out there and do sports because it's intimidating, because there are already formed teams, people do different courses? You're going to integrate that and encourage other people to do sports.
Right, how are you going to use the student media to encourage people to get involved in sports? Here is your opportunity to schmooze the media channels and tell them all how great they are. First to do that will be Paris.
Well, obviously the student media reaches a lot of people, and I am an avid listener of GE2, and I watch all the MADTV documentaries as well. But I think...
Read The Stag?
I do read The Stag, yes. But I think one thing is our sports teams have done so well this year, and people haven't known about it. I think when there's games on, we can use GU2, we can use The Stag, we can to promote when big games actually are. We can promote the sports results. I think one really, really good thing is in The Stag I can't remember how often it comes out, but in every issue of The Stag there's a story or two about sports clubs that have been quite successful. But I think if in every issue of The Stag there should be a full list of every sports result, so people really know what's going on. And I remember last year MADTV came and filmed some footage.
Okay, can I ask the audience just to settle down for a moment?
Remember, MADTV came and filmed some footage of us actually playing, and I think one great way to especially promote sport to the freshers would be to create a video that shows all the really, really wide range of sporting opportunities of Surrey. And so you can see a video that's just got a little bit of everything that we can do. We really do need to utilise the student media because they reach a lot of people.
All right, thank you very much. Adam, briefly, if you will.
What I would use media to help our sports clubs is, as I said earlier, I would particularly focus on advertisements for team matches, because at the moment there's not many people turning up to games to watch games. Whether they want to or not is another question, but not enough has been done to promote any game whatsoever. So I think I would use MADTV, for example, to make videos or come up and film some of the games to put on what could happen next week in a different scenario. And then, I'd also try and encourage GU2 to maybe go out there and play some music in the background or something like that. It makes that better atmosphere, which, it's that sense of professionalism again, which students will want to play with.
Trung.
Right, student media. This year I've started to release all the club results, including not only the Wednesday sports, but I've made sure that every club who goes away on individual events and competitions sends back their results, and we publish them. So actually we do have an Excel file that has all the results. We started off with sending it out to MADTV and GU2 as well, so they regularly get it. With student media, what I want to do is join student media with the sports park media, with the university media. That way we can send a joint message for whatever it may be. It might be about a sort of achievements, it might be about future big finals, whatnot. But essentially we need to send a joint message out to all the students through all the medias, and that's how we can reach out to more students. Next year I feel I'm quite confident in the role now that I can actually take time out of the office to actually go out and promote and even sort of record.
Does that imply that you were not confident in the role this year?
There are a lot of, within the role of VP Sports, there are a lot of union things that you have to do, such as AGMs. There's other committees that you fall under, like the executive board and the transport committee. And all of them is stuff you have to learn before you can even sort of get a grasp of what the role is about.
Right, thank you all very much for your questions. As you will be aware, we always finish with a yes or no question. You're not allowed an explanation, you're only allowed to give me a yes or a no. So, we already know that sports gets the most funding from the Students' Union out of any activity. Is it right that colours ball is subsidised? Yes or no? From my left to my right, Tron.
Yes.
Paris.
No.
Adam.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, your candidates for VP Sports will be back after the break. Thank you very much.